Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're back in Milan again for day 6 of the TOREMooS Cup. Yes, it's the 6th day. As I said yesterday, we're more than halfway through the competition now. I'm definitely starting to feel the pressure because the competition is getting fierce. It's getting closer at the top, and really with all the tasks that Remo has been setting so far, I really don't know how it's going to go today. The past few days have been very difficult and it's been very easy to slip up on all of them. Especially some of them yesterday, with only 11% of you again getting one of those right. I think that's definitely showing that the difficulty of these tasks is ramping up, and I really don't know what to expect from him today. But yeah, let's just jump straight in. We're going into the TOREMooS section and we're going down to day 6. Now today again we've got 1 to 4,000 map. We're back to 3 stations, but we've kept the 4m 0 tolerance. And now these black circles seem to be ever changing, to be honest. We've got black circle is the playground item again, and we've got the black crosses will again be basketball posts, like in photo 3 yesterday with the basketball courts. They may be on basketball courts, they may just be in a park somewhere, we will see. And station 3 has an arrow on top of it helping us see the A flag. I don't think that's a problem. If some of the flags are harder to spot, I think it's a good way to try and show us exactly where they are. Again, as always, I'll be putting my answers in the top right hand corner of the screen so you can see exactly what I'm putting at the exact moment I do, and we will see how I get on with today's event. So if we're all ready, let's take on day 6 of the TOREMooS Cup. And here is station 1. Oh, so there's trees, there's the kink in the path there, and we want that tree at the back with nothing on it. We want the end of the wall there. I'm going with that, bravo. There's nothing on that corner either. There is on that corner though, and that end of the wall is echo. Good station. I possibly should have been quicker on 1.2, but I don't think there was much wrong with that one. I think that was very good. There's a small area we were working with, so it's quite easy to work out where we are, but we will see if there's anything wrong with that, and we will go straight on to station 2. Oh, there's the wall at the front, trees, the slide, paved area, bush at the foxtrot. We want that corner of paved area, so delta. There's nothing on that. That is the wrong tree. Corner of bush is foxtrot, but there is something on that tree. Again, it was a good station. It looked like there was a control on the unmapped lamppost, which was good, but if we remember that the black crosses are the basketball nets, we would have spotted that easily. And yeah, I think it was a good trick with the trees as well, unless I've got them one out of sync, but I don't think I have. And we will go on to the final station, station 3. Oh, so there's the play equipment, there's the trees at the back, trees at the centre. I have just spotted alpha. Corner of the wrong paved area. Between the wrong trees. Second tree is Charlie. Between those trees, echo. And is it the right paved area? Ooh, no. So yeah, I definitely could have done that a bit quicker with the final one, but let's go straight for the first station. And I thought this was a good station. I thought it was a fairly easy station to start off with, but I've got nothing wrong with that. First station is on the tree at the back, and we can see that all these trees here with the canopies touching have been marked as runnable woodland, and the tree we want must be possibly this one here, right at the back of the open land. So because none of the controls are really back there, it must be a 0. We then come across to the second one and we have this bit of wall here. Now this was confusing me slightly because the wall doesn't quite seem long enough, it just seems like a point feature there, but it is clearly that section of wall, and because north is upwards, the control descriptions must match the direction, so it has to be this end of the wall and it has to be bravo. But again, I think I possibly could have gone a bit quicker if the walls were mapped a bit longer just to identify that there is a corner there. And the third task was the corner of the open land here, and as we can see, they're trying to make us put delta, because delta is on a corner of open land, but it's on the wrong corner of open land. Delta is at the edge of the circle here, and we want this corner in the photo here, so that must again be a 0. And then we come across to the front, and we've got Charlie in the open land right at the front, so it must be Charlie on that corner. And then we go to the wall that Echo is on the other side, and because I'd spent a bit of time on Bravo working out that these 2 points are the 2 walls, I knew that Echo was on the wall here, and so that must be Echo for the final task. So yeah, it was a good station to start with, a good quick station to start with, and then we go on to station 2, which I think is quite an interesting station, to be honest. We've obviously got the play equipment mapped as circles, which is good, and we want the back corner of this paved area with the slide on it, so it must be delta out the back there. We then come forward and we have the black cross. Now in the instructions beforehand we were told that the black crosses would be basketball nets, and the post here is a lamppost. So the lampposts have not been mapped, but the basketball nets have. So we want a control on this basketball net, but obviously there's nothing there, so it's a 0. We then come across to this task here, and I think this is possibly the cruelest task in the station, but I think it's a good one. We have a tree, and we want the northern side of the tree. Now Bravo and Charlie are both on trees, but are either of them on the right tree? Well, if you see, there's no trees to the left of the Charlie tree, and if we count along, we've got Charlie on this first tree on the edge of the circle, then Bravo is on the next tree along, and we actually want the third tree along, so it's a tree out the photo, so it must be a 0. Now potentially I would have put a middle tree in the control description just to potentially highlight it, because there are 5 trees in the circle, and it would be the middle one of those 5 if it's the third one along. But yeah, I don't think there's anything too wrong with that. I think that was fine. Then we come across to the other side of the picture, and we want the end of a bush, and we've obviously got Foxtrot on an end of the bush, and the bush seems to be in about the right place on the map, so I've gone with it, and I think it is Foxtrot. And then we come across to the final task, and we're back on a tree. Now if you miscounted the first one and you put Bravo for 22, then I wouldn't be surprised if you've put Charlie for 23, thinking it's the next tree along. However, because we've established that it's Charlie on this tree and Bravo on the next tree, we know that this task must be Bravo. But again, maybe a middle sign in the control description might have been nice here, just to help identify exactly which tree. But overall it was a very good station. It was quite interesting for some of the zeros, and again it was another unmapped problem with this post, so whether you think this is fair or not, I don't know. Let me know in the comments section. And now the third station, which I think was possibly the most interesting of them. We have obviously got a slightly more bird's eye view, and I think this potentially might have thrown a few of you, because obviously it's not like proper Trello when we're sat in a chair looking out on a terrain, unless we're sat on the top of a building, but I don't think that's very likely. I'm guessing potentially Raymo's just taken this photo out the window of his house, or someone's house that he knows lives near this area. But anyway, we've obviously been stood here for station 2 looking across, so we know that this area is the bit over here that we've just worked with, and we want the corner of some paved area. Now Foxtrot is in the corner of some paved area, however is it the right paved area? The paved area that we want has got 2 bits of play equipment on it, which is these 2 bits here, so we want this corner, and so Foxtrot is not on the right corner, so it must be a 0. We then come across here, and I didn't spend as long on this one, but I think this was good. We have another between trees problem, and is it between the right trees? We've got the second line of trees, so if you remember from the last station, we have this bush here, which must be here, and then the first line of trees is this line, and then the second line of trees is the line delta is on. So do we want delta? We want the gap between the first 2 trees, and delta is between the second and third trees. So it's not the delta kite, it must be another 0. And then 33, we come along once again to the third line of trees, and there's 5 in a line here, and we can see 5 in a line, and it's quite clear. I did take a bit of time just checking I could see all 5. And then we want the second tree along, so it must be 1, 2, so it must be the Charlie kite. We then jump back across to between another set of 2 trees, but this time the other side of the map, and I think although it's quite hard to see this first tree to the left of Echo, I think it is clear that it's within 4 meter tolerance. That's definitely going to be between these two trees, so it must be Echo. And then we come across to what I think is the hardest task of the event today, and it's very fitting that it's been put in as the last task. So we want a bit of paved area behind the previous line of trees. Now Alpha is obviously in a piece of paved area, but is it the right bit of paved area? Now if we're looking through from where we think we're stood, about here, and we look through the map, the paved area that we want should be between the Bravo and Charlie trees, and you can just about see that paved area here as this little bit of brown between the two trees. So I think that proves that Alpha is on the other bit of paved area, not the one we want, so that must again be a 0. I guess another way of looking at it is this bit of paved area that Alpha is on looks very rectangular, and so does the paved area in the left hand side of the circle, rather than this bit of circular paved area between the two trees, which Alpha is not on. So yeah, I think this was definitely the hardest station in the event, definitely reflected in my times, but it was mainly that final task that threw it, and I should have really believed myself more that Alpha was on the wrong bit of paved area, because I was convinced of that to start with. But that's the event, and now we will go and see the position I am in the results. Now 47 seconds is quite slow again, but that has been a winning score on some events this past week, so we will see where I am. And I am in 3rd. No, I'm not. I'm in joint 2nd with Ralph. Now that's a good outcome. I think that's gone very well, and I'm very happy with that. So we will see where I end up at the end of the day, but for now I will see you afterwards for the final results. Yes, and we're now back at the end of the event, and it does look like I've managed to keep the 2nd place here today. Now firstly, well done to Andrea for winning the event. Again, he seems to be a lot quicker than the rest of us today, and I think that's very impressive, and it does seem to be a consistent 11 seconds across the board, so very well done to him for keeping the consistency as we've gone across the event. Now let's have a look at some of the percentages for each of the stations for today. Now the first station doesn't seem to have any particular difficult tasks apart from this 78% in 1.3, where there was actually a small split in the incorrect answers, mainly between Delta and Echo, but we will go and have a look at that afterwards. And then for station 2, we are scrolling down and there's a red A column in the middle again, and it does seem like it was the 3rd task again that threw people, with 197 going for A and 125 going for B, but instead 43% or 254 of you went for the actual answer, which is 0 there. But other than that, maybe this 74% on 2.2 is also fairly low, with most of you going for Echo who got it wrong, but I don't think that's too bad. And then finally the 3rd station, so we scroll and the column seems to be forming on 2 and 5, and yet they were the worst answered to at 57 and 51. I think I said previously that I thought the final task was the hardest, and that's definitely shown in this statistic, with 51% of you getting it right and 269 of you going with Alpha. And I'm wondering whether this 20 or so people who didn't put Alpha didn't actually see the Alpha kite. We were told beforehand that it would be pointed out with a white arrow, but it was definitely hard to see even with the white arrow there. And also 32 with 204 of you going for Delta. That is still quite a low percentage of you, and the answer to this one was 0, so I don't know whether you'd gone with the first task as 0 and didn't think that the first 2 tasks in a station would be 0 and thought, well, I'll go for Delta. But we will go back and we will have a look at some of those poorly answered tasks. So the first one was 13, and I think this probably was the hardest one in the station, although none of them were particularly hard in this station in my opinion. The common wrong answers here were Delta and Echo, and I think as I discussed during it, they are the closest to the correct location, which is obviously here on this corner. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that task. I think it was the most well answered harder task of any of these stations, but I think overall the station was possibly the easiest of the day, which I think is fine. You always need an easy station in there to try and counterbalance the harder stations. Station 2 then was definitely 22 and 23, which are the worst answered ones. Now I think because 22 wasn't as badly answered as 23, people are definitely getting used to the unmapped items on the map. So people saw that it was the black cross, and if you'd read the instructions beforehand you would have known that the basketball hoops are the black crosses, not the lampposts. So yeah, yeah, I think that one's fine. And then 23. Now there are two reasons you might get this one wrong. The first one I discussed before. If you miscount the trees, you would think it's Bravo. However, the second one, which I kind of realised afterwards, if you're not looking at the circle close enough, you may think that this black cross is about in the middle of the circle instead of the tree. Now it is confirmed in the control description that we're going for tree, but if you're not looking at the control description closely enough, you may think that the circle is actually centered on the basketball net, which Alpha is on. But I think the main reason most of you were caught out was because of the tree counting and the tree that we want being outside the photo. But yeah, I think those two tasks were fine. I think this is showing more that controls on unmapped locations is definitely seeming a lot more okay in this station. Now finally, it was the second and the fifth tasks in station 3 that were the worst answered. Now with this one, I can definitely see why many people would have put Delta. Just at a quick glance at the photo, you may easily miss this smaller tree here, thinking that this tree and the other tree here are the first two trees in the row, and therefore thinking that Delta is between the first two trees in the row, like we want in this map. I don't think that's a mistake that's too easily made, but I also don't think it's a mistake that you should be annoyed about for making yourself. It is very hard to spot that tree, I think, in the pressure of the event. So yeah, I'm not too surprised that a lot of people got that one wrong. And again, I'm not surprised lots of you got this one wrong. I said this during the first part of the video that I think this is the hardest task in the whole event, let alone this station. But I also think it's clear that there is a bit of paved area between these two trees. And if there's only two bits of paved area on the map, you must know that it's these two bits here and Alpha is in the wrong one. So yeah, I think today's event was definitely a really good one. It was definitely another interesting one with fast and slow stations across the whole thing again. And yes, so the final thing to do now is go back and let's have a look at the overall results for the series. And I am still holding on to this first place, but the gap seems to have opened to 8 points now. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with that. I'm surprised I haven't flattened off. As I said in event 3, I think every time that I've ended up in first during a competition, I've always seemed to drop down and mess everything up in all the subsequent events after that. I'm quite happy that doesn't seem to be happening this time, but you never know. There's still 4 more days to go and there's still a lot of things I can make mistakes on. But yeah, that is obviously the end of today's event. If you would like to like this video and subscribe to the channel, subscribing is great, it helps me out, you get notifications for all the videos, so why not just do it? It's just a quick click of a button. And also make sure you're commenting anything you think I missed, whether you thought that task was fair on the unmapped play equipment, and I will obviously again see you tomorrow for the 7th day of the TOREMooS Cup.